Good morning. Elmo Baca is a native of Las Vegas, New Mexico, whose career in downtown revitalization and historic preservation spans more than 40 years. During nearly 2 decades in state government, he served as both state Main Street Director and state Historic Preservation Officer. Among his many achievements are the enactment of New Mexico's Arts and Cultural District Statute in 2006 and the launch of the State Historic Theater Initiative between 2012 and 2015. In 2015, Elmo revitalized his family's historic Baca building on Bridge Street by opening the Indigo Theater, which continues to bring first-run cinema to the greater Las Vegas community. His current work is deeply focused on recovery from the Hermits Peak and Cass Canyon wildfire, where he is fostering collaboration among FEMA, state and federal agencies, local governments, and nonprofit organizations. Through his leadership with Regional Foundation, Elmo is advancing ambitious projects in affordable housing, community land trust, and public health. Managing a $750,000 Anchor Health Foundation fund, he is directing resources towards initiatives that strengthen workforce housing, food access, education, and long-term sustainability for communities of Mora and San Miguel County. Please join me in welcoming Elmo Baca, a lifelong champion of historic preservation, community revitalization, and resilience for northern New Mexico, speaking today on Querencia, Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Thank you, Michelle. That was the most gracious introduction. I should say, when I was the State Historic Preservation Officer, we hired Michelle. And my deputy came to me and said, you know, Michelle is a really hard worker. She's going to go places. And you have, Michelle. We're so proud of you. Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Las Vegas. I'm really grateful this morning to be part of this great reunion of our state historic preservation community after quite a while that we've met. And I'm also grateful to all of you who've traveled long distances to be here with us this morning. I'm pretty humbled and honored to welcome you to our fair city on this beautiful morning. The summer monsoon rains have been very generous to Las Vegas, and Las Vegas is wearing its verdant colors gloriously. Part of our Querencia for our town and state are days like this, filled with golden light and the smell of chili roasting. Our pleasant microclimate here between plains and mountains nourished great meadows that welcomed the caravans of the Santa Fe Trail and led to the founding of Las Vegas in 1835. So I can't think of a better time to walk around Las Vegas while you're here, peek into its corners and alleyways, nooks and crannies, stroll down our stunning Diana's Riverwalk Park, and enjoy our many blocks of storybook buildings. Today I'm grateful for many things, but especially for the New Mexico Historic Preservation Division and Cornerstones for organizing this conference. Our kudos to State Historic Preservation Officer Michelle Enzi and her staff, and to Jake Barrows and Robin Jones and all of their staff for their great and hard work. I also want to recognize the Board of Directors of the Las Vegas, New Mexico Community Foundation and our staff here in the back of the room for all your support helping make this conference a success. In my brief overview of historic preservation this morning in Las Vegas, I've not been able to mention the many, many people who have volunteered or restored homes and commercial buildings here, the many organizations who have contributed and are still working, the many remarkable people who fell under the spell of Las Vegas and found some of their Querencia here. To them, including my parents, I dedicate this presentation. Okay, let me see if I can. Well, let's start. This is a photograph that shows the historic village of Highlands, New Mexico, about 1900. Faintly in the background, you'll see the majestic profile of Hermits Peak. The Hermits Peak and Cap Canyon wildfire of 2022 surrounded this village, but it survived. Just up the road, north from Highlands, is a place of awesome, picturesque beauty called El Porvenir, or the future. So for me, this photo conveys an image of Querencia and also points to our long-term recovery. Now lately, we've all heard the word Querencia mentioned in regards to New Mexico. Querencia was often expressed by our residents during our recent great wildfire here, as people lost much of what was dear to them. Here are some photos of the Hermits Peak and Cap Canyon wildfire, which raged for nearly 4 months in the summer of 2022. The fire reached the city limits of Las Vegas, but our town was saved by over 3,000 firefighters from all across the United States. Querencia is a term of endearment that comes from the Spanish verb querer, to desire, to love. Te quiero, I love you. But Querencia also means a deep, sacred love for that which nurtures you and gives you strength and support. We can have Querencia for our town, our homeland, our home, our garden. Querencia is a complex emotion which also has overtones of nostalgia and longing and memory. I would argue that Querencia is a value that inspires us as preservationists and conservationists. As a teenager growing up here in Las Vegas in the 60s and 70s, I did not have Querencia for my hometown. Las Vegas in the 60s and 70s seemed depressing to me. Lots of forlorn and tired-looking buildings with boarded up windows. Our Plaza Park had a great World War II anti-aircraft gun in it and a beat-up gazebo. This is what Bridge Street looked like in 1969, when Dennis Hopper, Peter Fonda, and a rising new star, Jack Nicholson, filmed some scenes of the counterculture classic Easy Rider here. Not a lot of preservation going on. I wanted to run far away, and I landed up in New Haven, Connecticut, at Yale, where I started college. I was attracted to the art and architecture programs. My ambition was to be an architect, but I discovered somewhat painfully that I was a lousy designer, but a better writer. Coming back home after college 5 decades ago, I found Las Vegas at a pivotal and transitional moment. Las Vegas had finally consolidated from 2 municipalities into one, in 1970. We were a unified community for the first time in a century. And we were looking forward to the centennial of the Santa Fe Railroad arriving in our town in 1979. These were the years when the preservation movement really took hold here. Many of you know that Las Vegas was divided by the Guaymas River into two separate municipalities for nearly a century: the town of West Las Vegas and the city of East Las Vegas. West Las Vegas is organized around a Mexican colonial plaza, and East Las Vegas is planned on a grid featuring two great, well-preserved 19th century parks, Lincoln and Carnegie. The two contrasting city plans are part of Las Vegas's urban design complexity and fascination. Yes, that's Theodore Teddy Roosevelt in the picture on the lower left, leading a parade of Rough Riders here for the first Rough Riders reunion in 1899. Las Vegas won out over Albuquerque and Flagstaff because we had more first-class hotel rooms here. Now, I used to tell our Main Street communities that the most important factor in downtown revitalization, success, is enlightened leadership. Every community has enlightened leadership. Sometimes it's in plain sight, sometimes it's hidden or reserved, and sometimes it needs to be nurtured and developed. For us in Las Vegas, that enlightened leader who founded our preservation effort was Rua Pierce. Rua was a humanitarian who had worked with Jane Addams at Hull House in Chicago and with the United Nations before retiring here in the late 1950s. Rua restored a historic 1840s house, adobe house, on Old Santa Fe Trail south of the plaza. She adorned the territorial style interior with her impressive collection of West African musical instruments from her travels. She was active politically and helped Fidel Chief Gonzalez win election as our first consolidated mayor. For these efforts, Mayor Gonzalez promised Rua that the city would create historic districts and a design review board. Rua called me during my lost summer of 1976, and over tea in her charming adobe home, she recruited me into our historic preservation work and helped me grow my Querencia for this place. Here's a slide of Rua, upper left, hosting a community meeting at her historic home on South Pacific Street, which she loved to do. Later, the Citizens Committee for Historic Preservation raised funds and built a monument and park along the west side of the Guaymas off of Valencia Street, which you see here on the lower right. Lawrence Quintana's father, Lawrence, helped build this monument to Rua with Lawrence's help. Ernie Quintana. Ernie was our longtime chairman of the Citizens Committee, and his son, Lawrence, is now the chairman. So thank you, Lawrence, for all of that. The quote you see says, "I believe strongly that whether you live in Las Vegas or elsewhere, you occupy a spot of longitude and latitude." In 1979, Las Vegas was brimming with community pride and preservation energy. It was the centennial of the railroad's arrival here on July 4th, and therefore many significant anniversaries, like the centennial of our optic newspaper, were celebrated. We received a youth grant from the National Endowment for the Humanities to do a photographic survey of Las Vegas and to create an archive of historic photos of the community. This is a photo of the final catalog of the photographic survey, which was distributed free as an insert in our daily optic in November 1979. The catalog featured many historic photos collected by students and also some of their pinhole pictures. Now, I found some copies in my garage this week, and I have some here which are free for you if you want to pick them up. There's a lot of great historic photos here. Like many great Western boom towns after the Civil War, Las Vegas attracted several great frontier photographers who blessed us with an astounding visual record of the feverish years when our great landmark buildings arose and charming neighborhoods were established. Discovering this treasure trove of mesmerizing images and publishing hundreds of historic photographs in the optic that golden year of 1979, I think helped the public appreciate their heritage and wealth of historic architecture and build some Querencia. My favorite frontier photographer in Las Vegas was James Furlong, fabulous photographer, who operated a saloon here for more than 30 years, probably 40 years. He left us many exceptional views of Las Vegas before and after the railroad boom. This great photo shows the west side of Las Vegas, west of the plaza, up the hill, and west of the Santa Fe Trail. This is shown about 1878. The three-story structure on the right was known as Baca's Folly, which I'm sometimes called, because its owner, Don Romualdo Baca, thought that the railroad was going to come right through the plaza. And so he decided to build this great 3.5-story enormous adobe hotel. Unfortunately, this building was torn down in the 20s or 30s, but it was a great landmark here for many years. During this time, we were awarded grants from the State Historic Preservation Division to undertake our architectural surveys. Ellen Thrinan's survey in 1978 and 1979 established our original 6 historic districts: Plaza, Bridge Street, Distrito de las Escuelas, Railroad Avenue, Carnegie Park, and Lincoln Park. Those are the original 6. Chris told me last night he surveyed our entire town. But Chris's work, tremendous work in 82 and 83, led to 3 more extensive National Register districts, including Old Town, North Newtown, and Douglas 6th Street. Their work, this fabulous architectural survey work, was the foundation of many state and federal tax credit programs and projects that would follow even to the present. Despite this excitement and energy, we were still facing the uphill climb of attracting major investments to save our many endangered buildings. A great cohort of community leaders and preservationists came together in 1979, including Rua, Diana Stein, Bob Mishler, John Gavahan, Louis Olivas, and Kathleen Ortiz. Kathleen is here with us today. So honored by her being here. Soon joined by Wid and Cack Slick. Our greatest structure, the Montezuma Hotel, was vacant and our top priority. We soon learned that the Los Angeles industrialist Dr. Armand Hammer had purchased the Montezuma with the intent of transforming the buildings, the hot springs, and the 3,000-acre site to the only United World College in the United States. Prince Charles of England came out to Las Vegas in 1982 to dedicate the new school. And 3 years later, Dr. Hammer flew out the Beach Boys for the first graduation ceremony of the UWC. Some of us were there. I'm not lying. These two great furlong photographs show great Montezuma resort hotels built by the Santa Fe Railroad and operated by Fred Harvey. The first hotel, which you see on the bottom photo, a great wooden structure, was built in 1881-82, but it burned to the ground in 2 years because of a broken kerosene lamp. The Santa Fe Railroad decided to rebuild in a fireproof style, and they built the second Montezuma Hotel, a fabulous Queen Anne structure, which was recently restored about 20 years ago by the United World College. The second Montezuma also burned down 2 years after it was built in 1884. Now, Wid and Cack Slick and local partners Lonnie and Daniel Lucero rehabilitated the Plaza Hotel by 1983.
Tax credit was 82.
Okay, tax credits in 82,
Right.
finished in 83. And the revitalization of Las Vegas gained momentum. Our local efforts reflected and leveraged national developments. In 1980, the National Trust for Historic Preservation unveiled the Main Street Downtown Revitalization Program. New Mexico adopted Main Street in 1985, and Las Vegas was selected as one of the original 5 Main Street communities, along with Raton, Gallup, Silver City, and Socorro. Our Main Street Las Vegas program is still active nearly 40 years later. This year, New Mexico Main Street is celebrating the 40th anniversary in Alamogordo. I'm wearing my lucky 20th anniversary polo. So Main Street has had a great success in New Mexico. With 3 large commercial historic districts, Las Vegas has required major investments and steady stewardship for revitalization. The work continues, but we've come a long way in 40 years. We are blessed with some magnificent buildings seen here in this perspective of the corner of 6th and Douglas Streets, which was our 100% corner. Here we see the Duncan Opera House and the Masonic Temple and an electric streetcar in the photo on the lower left. On the top right, that's Murphy's Drugstore, everybody's favorite place to get a cherry lime. And it's been magnificently restored by Community First Bank. And on the lower right, the white building you see is the Coronado Theater, built in 1925. It was the town's cinema. just had this fantastic French Beaux-Arts facade, which you won't see anywhere else. It's covered up, but it's still there. Anyway, you see our Cowboys reunion parade here, probably about 1930. Las Vegas hosted some of the greatest cowboy reunions and rodeos in the West for several decades. And this is great cowboy ranching country. The Citizens Committee for Historic Preservation of Las Vegas was founded in 1979 and still thrives as a leading nonprofit organization with its historic photographic archive, house tours, annual awards program, and building plaques. CCHP has been critical to our success. Las Vegas took advantage of generous federal and state tax credit programs in the 1980s. Whit Slick and his partners developed an innovative La Plaza Vieja partnership in 1983 to 87 that raised $2.3 million for the rehabilitation of 15 buildings in Old Town and completed the upgrades to Plaza Park initiated by the Plaza Hotel project a few years earlier. By the 1990s, downtown revitalization in the United States was further challenged by the rise of big box retailers like Walmart. Mom and pop retail business was further assaulted by internet commerce starting 20 years ago. In Las Vegas, the downward pressure on storefront retail industry is especially acute as we inherited scores of commercial buildings from the railroad boom. Today, we must be especially creative and flexible to adapt Victorian-era buildings for a diminishing retail culture and the looming consequences of AI technology. Along with dramatic changes in the retail industry, we saw the subprime mortgage boom and bust of 2008. The housing crisis of 2008 is still impacting us today as mortgage banking regulations were tightened, building permitting is overregulated, zoning codes for affordable housing are outdated, and interest rates are still high. It's a perfect storm for a stagnant housing industry. As preservationists, we need to be aware that we are getting some of the blame for our country's affordable housing challenges, as even liberal pundits, like the New York Times podcaster and author Ezra Klein notes in his new book, Abundance, that preservation-minded homeowners have gentrified desirable neighborhoods and then resist or legally block any new proposed housing projects. We must ask ourselves if our city's housing and historic preservation ordinances need revisions. How can we be part of the solution and not a hindrance? The answer is complex, of course, but I would like to share with you a few strategies we are working on here in Las Vegas for housing, preservation, and Main Street revitalization. 10 years ago, a few of us preservationists, including Bob Mishler, Cindy Collins, and Doyle Daves, founded the Las Vegas, New Mexico Community Foundation. In our brief history, we've survived a pandemic and a wildfire and have awarded about $2 million in emergency community health and wellness and long-term recovery grants to our service area in Mora and San Miguel counties. We support over 40 nonprofits and projects in arts and culture, education, health and wellness, conservation and agriculture, education, community development, and historic preservation. Here's a photo of our new office with our iconic street clock out front. We moved here in March, and in July, the building was donated to us by Cindy and John Walker, who had operated a medical billing center here, but went under during COVID. Now, the street clock was saved by our founder, Bob Mishler. One day, strong wind bent it over, and Bob bought it, took it to his backyard where it was until he passed away. And so our foundation restored it, as you see here. But unfortunately, in May, the clock cracked, and we had to take it down. And so we're gonna have to restore it again. Fortunately, we have cast iron welders in Las Vegas. We have some fantastic building artisans here. And so we're going to be able to restore our clock. I'm going to divert a little bit with a little bit of Vegas film history. Here you see a scene from Red Dawn that was filmed here in '83 and '84, right in front of our building, featuring spectacular battle scenes of teenagers fighting the Russian army. Also on our street, in front of our office, literally, the great Coen Brothers movie, No Country for Old Men, was filmed. And now, just this week, Netflix is continuing their season 2 of the popular Ransom Canyon series. Now, Ransom Canyon has transformed one of our great Jewish mercantile buildings, the Rosenwald building that you see here, into a grand country western saloon. In the process, they have beautifully restored the facade of this great building. We lost about 1,000 structures in the burn scar area during the wildfire, many considered historic and cultural. During the COVID pandemic, Las Vegas was one of those cute rural towns discovered by urban refugees from California and Colorado and Texas and elsewhere. Some of our great homes were bought up and fixed up. Today we have an acute housing shortage here, as I'm sure most of you do too. One of our community foundation's strategies for long-term recovery is affordable and workforce housing. Now, we're not really housing developers, but we do see the need to help stimulate the local housing market with some strategic private investment. Our goal is twofold. Acquire vacant land for hopefully higher density housing projects, and also acquire quality historic houses that you see here for rehabilitation. We are partnering with Cornerstones and CCHP and the City of Las Vegas to try to move this initiative forward. With Cornerstone's help and Jake Barrow prowling our streets, we are researching potential rehabilitation projects and building a housing database. This work is harder than it seems, as we have many deceased and absentee landlords in our community. Hard to find them, hard to connect with them. Earlier this year, our board of directors created a land and housing trust fund for the foundation, which we seeded with grant money from the Ancorum Foundation and some of our own foundation money. In July, we purchased a 1.2 acre site just north of our historic Bridge Street district The site is zoned C2 and CH Cultural Historic. Our site is the one on the bottom here. Beautiful site. So the zoning will allow us to build about 12 to 14 2- and 3-bedroom apartments, which will be over commercial space. And of course, we're going to have to conform to the design standards of the Bridge Street Historic District. On the top, you see another very attractive site, which is 1 block south of our plaza, which the city owns, and I'm hoping that the city with partners can look at this site for some infill affordable housing. Now here's a conceptual plan for our lot, our 1.2 acres. Workforce housing is badly needed in Las Vegas, especially for professionals such as nurses and college faculty. Starter homes for young families are also a priority. Our goal is to develop this project within a 3 to 5 year time frame and attract some public sector financing, as well as institutional investments like from our sister foundations, and also some conventional bank financing. We see some very attractive opportunities for both vacant infill projects and historic housing rehabs in our Distrito de las Escuelas. So if you want to look around, it's just 1 block south of our plaza. It is my dream that we can build out this district with some fine new design appropriate homes and also restore some of our classic territorial style residences. Now, along with affordable housing, our community foundation has adopted 3 other major initiatives for long-term recovery, including health and wellness and capacity building. Long-term recovery will also address forest regeneration, community and economic development. Finally, I'd like to share some good news and strategies from our Railroad Avenue Historic District. Railroad districts are extremely challenging to revitalize, requiring major public and private investments and vision due to the unique mix of industrial and commercial building types. The Santa Fe Rail Yard is a great success and it's an inspiration to us. Early on in the 1980s, Gallup had a fantastic project for its multimodal transportation center, conversion of its historic depot. And more recently, our neighbors in Raton have done some great work on their historic First Street. President George H.W. Bush's administration offered great grants for scenic byways and railroad depots in the 1980s, and our city government used one to rehabilitate our 1898 Mission Revival Station, which you see here on the upper left. Our railroad district is probably the best preserved turn-of-the-century statehood-era district in the state, with magnificent California Mission-style depot and the Casaneta Hotel and the elegant Rose Kelly Mercantile Building, seen here on the top right. The Gross Kelly is a great World's Fair classic structure built in 1903, and it's been the district headquarters for P&M for at least 40 years. Still, our railroad district has languished until Arizona entrepreneur Alan Affelt bought first our Plaza Hotel and then in 2014 our Casaneta Hotel, which had been vacant for hotel guests since 1948. Las Vegas boasts great Fred Harvey history here with the Montezuma and the Casaneta. And we'll be hosting another annual meeting of the Fred heads here in November, and it'll be somewhat of a farewell dinner for Alan Appelt as well. Now, with Ellen's near miraculous restoration of the Casaneta Hotel in 2016, new energy and momentum finally blessed the rail yard. Hometown building owners, Tom and Tina Clayton, Tom's right over here, he's our district attorney, have rehabilitated the Rollins building, which you see here, lower right, across the street from the Casaneta. The Rollins building was a former dormitory for the Harvey girls, and now offers attractive upstairs apartments and a new coffee shop on the ground floor. New Mexico Main Street's Great Blocks program, which was conceived by our former director, Rich Williams. Sorry about that. Looking at Amy Barnard over there. Is nearing completion here after nearly $2 million invested in new sidewalks, street furniture, and lighting infrastructure on Railroad Avenue and East Lincoln Streets. I think we're going to get 900,000 more. Nearby Buffalo Hall, you see here on the upper right, inspired by one of our most notorious territorial saloons, was transformed by the Lopez and Lucero families from a collapsed storefront to one of our community's most beloved beer, barbecue, and billiard emporiums just 4 years ago. With these massive investments, totaling nearly $10 million, we have hope that our railroad district can achieve its potential for a new era of prosperity and long-term recovery. I mentioned the rise of the digital economy about 20 years ago. Our response in New Mexico was the passage of the state's Arts and Cultural Districts statute in 2007. Again, Las Vegas was designated one of the first ACDs, but we have not fulfilled the potential of the creative economy here. We have submitted a grant proposal to the New Mexico Creative Industries Division with our Main Street sponsors here for a pilot arts and cultural district grant of $100,000 to continue the revitalization of our railroad district as a creative district. We hope to use grant funds to undertake a few more facade squats, attract creative entrepreneurs, create a signature event, and undertake long-term negotiations with P&M to transform the former Gross Kelly Mercantile Building into a cultural center. I see Jake over there. Now, through the wildfire disaster and its aftermath, we have seen the best qualities of our community expressed, including tenacity, philanthropy, charity, and Querencia. In our Plaza Park right now sits an impressive sculpture by local artist Chad Brown called Phoenix Rising that stands as a beacon to our future recovery. Historic preservation, with its values, ethic, technologies, and Querencia, is critical to our long-term recovery and sustainability as one of New Mexico's authentic communities. Our goal is not only to preserve our forests, historic architecture, and cultural values, but also to envision and create an even better homeland than before, with better opportunities for everyone. But just like what happened to me when I was much younger, We must continue to find ways to instill Querencia of this place and your place throughout our great state to younger generations if historic preservation will achieve its true potential. Thank you. I see a distinguished individual in the back of the room, our mayor, David Romero. I'd like to say, Mayor, we're grateful to have you here this morning, and we're grateful for all the support you've given historic preservation in your office.
All right, well, first of all, welcome to the city of Las Vegas. I see a lot of friendly faces out here and a lot of new ones. But first of all, welcome. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Some of you got here yesterday, so I hope you've enjoyed your time, had the opportunity to visit some of our historical sites, and and you're able to firsthand witness, some of the great work that Elmo, Main Street, and a lot of other individuals that I won't mention, but you will notice that a lot of work has been done by these individuals, and I want to give them a round of applause for what they've done. And I think it's appropriate that Las Vegas, New Mexico is one of the richest in culture and an example of historic preservation around the state, and that couldn't be done without many of these individuals that have done the work here. Again, I'll cut this short. I had to stop in and make sure I said hi to everybody. Again, just welcome to the New Mexico Historical Preservation Conference. We're proud to host this important gathering here in our community. It's a place where history is not just remembered, but lived every day. Las Vegas is home to the largest historic districts in the state, with architecture, culture, and stories that reflect the heart of New Mexico. As you take part in the sessions and discussions, I encourage you to explore our city, walk our historic streets, and experience firsthand what preservation efforts that keep our heritage alive. Thank you for all that everybody in here does. Thank you for the work you do to protect and celebrate New Mexico's history. We're glad that you're here. We hope you enjoy your time, and we hope that it's a memorable visit for you guys. Thank you.